Sorry about that. I forgot to mention that the meeting was being recorded so that we could be able to utilize it for anybody who had questions or wants to review this at a later time. My apologies for not saying that, but it is recorded. So if you have problems, go ahead. You can remove yourself from the meeting and then reach out to us afterwards. Continue on with the introductions. My name is, the second person is Long Nguyen. Long is our county project manager for this project. Next is Mr. Eric Lee. Eric is the project engineer from our engineering consultant team, JR Engineering. Next is CJ Petrie. He is our real estate project manager from our right-of-way acquisition consultant, HDR. And lastly, I'd like to introduce you to Alexis Merida. Alexis is the community engagement specialist from HDR. Alexa has a few meeting format items that she would like to speak about, and then we'll jump right into the meeting. Alexa, we can't hear you.
So for tonight, we've got the view, zoom in, zoom out if you need to zoom in during the presentation. We also have a full screen mode over here top right with a button called layout if you'd like to view the presentation full screen. Please remain muted with cameras off for the presentation portion of the evening. This will help with the bandwidth this evening. As well as when we get to the Q&A, feel free to raise your hand. And during the presentation, I would recommend using the chat feature to drop your questions in, and we will get to those as soon as we get to the Q&A portion of the evening.
All right. Thank you, Alexa. There we go. So now we're back on track. So we've got four main topics that we'd like to present to you tonight. The first is the project background. The next would be the property impacts and understanding the right-of-way process. Lastly would be the next steps. And finally, we have a question and answering time at the end of our presentation. So now we'd like to provide you a little background on the purpose of the project. Allow me to introduce Mr. Long Nguyen.
Thank you, Ian. Good afternoon, everyone. The project intends to provide the neighborhood improvements in the Berkeley Garden neighborhood area. As you're aware, the improvements will address the roadways, safety, mobility, pedestrians access, facilities, and also the drainage systems. Some of the roadway improvement features include roadway widening and resurfacing, curb ramp, curb and gutter and sidewalk. The project will also construct a water quality pond north of 55th Place and a pedestrians ramp, a trail from 53rd Avenue to Federal Boulevard. Next slide, please. The project area is within, if you can see on the screen there, the project area is within the light blue lines. West 55th Place is on the north side, border of Adams County and City of County. Denver is on the south side, Lowell Boulevard is on the west side, and Federal Boulevard is on the east side. Next slide, please. Adams County staff and GR engineering consultants had the project kickoff meeting in fall of 2020. The team developed the concept design in winter 2020. The preliminary design was developed in spring of 2021. And the final design was completed in winter of 2021. If you notice, we have public meetings at all phases of design. The project is currently in the right-of-way property acquisition phase, which is expected to be completed in late 2023. The anticipated construction date is in spring or summer of 2024. At this time, I would like to turn the presentation to CJ, and he'll let us know where we're at today.
Evening, everyone. This is CJ Petrie. As Ian already explained, I'm the real estate services project manager for the project, working for HDR. As shown on the last slide, we are currently in the property acquisition phase of the project, and I will present an overview of the property acquisition process. We will also go over the different types of property interest that the county may purchase and a process for doing so. The county has identified the property interest needed for this project to construct the neighborhood improvements at this point. As part of the property acquisition phase, you will be assigned a real estate specialist who will work with you through the process. Following slides will provide an overview of the process that the real estate specialist will follow. The process that the county goes through as part of the property acquisition phase is called the right-of-way process. The right-of-way is real property rights used for transportation-related purposes, just to define that word in case it gets thrown around. When designing this project, Adams County tried to utilize as much existing right-of-way as possible, but to successfully install all the neighborhood improvements, some additional property interests need to be purchased. The property interests necessary are typically small strips along the roadway that allow for placement of planned improvements. And there are three main types of property interests that the county may need to acquire from property owners. It's right-of-way, permanent easements, or temporary easements. And we will go over this on the next slide. So the first type of property interest that the county may need to construct the project is right-of-way. You've probably all heard from some agents if you met with them on site. There's existing right-of-way, which is property that the county currently owns and utilizes for sidewalks and roads and other improvements. If the county purchases additional right-of-way from an owner, the county would own that piece of land in full moving forward. This means that the owner would no longer be responsible for paying taxes on that piece of property acquired from the county. The other interest is a permanent easement, which is a permanent interest purchased from a property owner for a specific use. In this case, the property owner would retain ownership of the parcel of that piece of property, but it would have possible future restrictions on how they can use it, so it doesn't interfere with the improvements being placed. The easiest example in this case would be a power line. Those are typically placed in permanent easements, and the restriction is that you can't build under the line, but you still own the ground under it. The next piece of interest that the county may need to purchase is a temporary easement, which is a rental of a piece of property for a certain period of time. The property owner retains ownership of this parcel, but the county will be able to utilize the area for a set period of time. For this project, they're looking at 2 years to build the improvements they need to build in that area. And after it expires, it just goes back to the property owner. And we can move on to the next slide. And this slide just shows a high-level overview of the right-of-way process. Like I mentioned before, a real estate specialist will be assigned to work with each property owner throughout the process. The real estate specialist will contact each owner to coordinate staking and meet with the owners to discuss the project and go over any questions that the landowner may have. The next step is the valuation of the parcels, and then an offer will be sent based on that valuation. Once the offer is sent, the landowner will have an opportunity to review the offer, and any questions or concerns can be addressed. We'll take a deeper look into the right-of-way process on the coming 2 slides. So this is just the step-by-step breakdown of what to expect with your real estate specialist. The first step that we're taking on this project is we'll be mailing out postcards and placing door hangers like we did for the virtual meeting, but we'll be doing that ahead of coming in and staking parcels that are necessary. Signs will also be placed to let you know that the acquisition phase in your area is beginning. The real estate specialist will also attempt to contact each owner by phone to introduce themselves and to coordinate staking for the property interests required. After the initial call, the real estate specialist will send out a notice of intent letter. An example of this letter is up on the screen there, just so you know what to expect in the mail. This notice of intent letter provides the landowner notice of the county's interest in acquiring land or other rights, other property rights. The letter will include a description, which will show the size and location of any necessary interests that the county wants to purchase. The letter will also provide information on the county's obligation to determine fair market value for the property interests. After the parcels are staked and the notice letter has gone out, the real estate specialist will set up a meeting with the property owner to go over the property interest needed and to answer any questions in person. Next would be depending on the, sorry, go back, yeah, same slide. Step 4, depending on the estimated value of the property interest needed, either an appraiser or a real estate specialist will prepare an unbiased opinion of market value. And we can go on to step 5. Step 5, the real estate specialist will send an offer on behalf of Adams County based on the determined fair market value for the interest needed. And then the owner will have an opportunity to review the offer, and any remaining questions or concerns can be addressed. And then the last step is when an agreement is reached, the closing will be the next step. Payments for the property rights are handled at this stage. The right-of-way and permanent easements will be closed with the title company, and temporary easements will be closed with your real estate specialist. We can go on the next one, next slide. So here's an overview of the project. Due to the large size of the neighborhood, we split this project into 4 acquisition phases. And this is to allow ample time for the real estate specialist to work with each property owner through this process. An overview, it kind of has a timing on here of when we expect to start each phase. We can discuss that on the coming phase slides, and I'll go through each phase. Phase 1, this phase began this past summer. It encompasses the southeastern portion of the neighborhood, highlighted in purple there. The staking for the property interests for this phase have been completed. And as most of you have seen, the parcels were staked using wood lath with flags depicting the type of property interest needed. And we just put a quick picture on here to show what those wood stakes look like and the flagging on them. The pink delineates right away. The green shows a permanent easement area, and the blue shows a temporary easement area. The real estate specialists have met with all property owners in this phase as of now, and the valuations are currently underway, and offers have started going out on this phase. We can go to phase 2. Phase 2, this phase encompasses the center portion of the neighborhood. Postcards and door hangers will be delivered to property owners here in the next couple weeks, and real estate specialists will start reaching out to introduce themselves. The notice of intent letters will go out after postcards and door hangers are sent. And then the real estate specialist will coordinate staking with each property owner, and they'll go over the type of property interests to be staked. We can go to phase 3. Phase 3 will have a similar process. This phase encompasses the northwestern portion of the neighborhood. Just like the phase 2, door hangers and postcards will be sent to the property owners. This is expected to occur this coming winter. The real estate specialists will reach out at that time when those postcards and door hangers go out. And then notice letters will be sent out explaining the property interest required. And also staking will be coordinated on this phase as well with each owner. And then we have the last phase, phase 4. This is the northeastern portion of the neighborhood here in light blue. Like the other two phases, door hangers and postcards will be sent to the owners. We're expecting around the spring of 2023 for this to occur, and the real estate specialist will reach out at that time. The notice letters will go out and staking will be coordinated, and the type of property interests will be gone over with each owner as well. Ian Cortez will kind of take it from here to explain the next steps for the project.
Thanks, CJ. So the next steps would be the property closings itself. Once we receive the assigned agreements from our acquisition agents from HDR, it takes possibly 6 to 8 weeks to be able to get it all processed. Each agreement is reviewed and approved by the Board of County Commissioners at public hearing. And since we have the holiday season approaching right now, those phases or those acquisitions agreed upon in phase 1 and maybe early portions of phase 2 may take a little longer during our holiday season as we are running out of those dates to be able to meet with the county commissioners. But on a typical process, it's about 6 to 8 weeks, and we do utilize a title agency to be able to assist us with those closings. Closings for temporary construction easements are a lot shorter. They're about 4 to 6 weeks. Once we receive those written agreements, signed agreements, processing takes us about, like I said, 4 weeks to be able to get it all the way through, and then we'll be able to have a check delivered through our right-of-way agent as we close out that agreement with you. Step 3, construction is anticipated, as Long said just a little while ago, in spring of 2024. But we don't proceed with all our construction until we secure all of the property interests needed for the project. And then finally, at construction advertisement is going to be done, as I just mentioned, not till the end of, until we have everything completed. Next slide, please. All right, Alexa.
Hello. All right, so I touched on this earlier, but and thank you for those who have chimed in and given us your feedback on how you would like for us to meet in person. So we did put together a digital community questionnaire just because we do recognize that there are ways we can improve. And so this is one way, a very brief 5-question survey that we would like to get that input and collect that so that we can improve our process moving forward. This will also be available on the project website if you do not have the opportunity to scan it tonight, and we will make sure to share that with hard copies as well, and yard signs will be placed with a follow-up for this as we continue to communicate with you all. And so for the next portion, we do have a question and answers. So what I would ask is stay muted and raise your hand if you have a question. We do have the chat feature. So I've been watching that during the presentation. We will answer the ones that are in the chat feature first in the order we receive them. And then we will get to the raised hands and ask that you speak at that time and or continue typing your questions in the chat feature. And with that, Ian, do we want to go ahead and jump right in?
Sure, okay. Jump right in. What if anybody's raised their hand?
Yeah, so the first one we received from Raphael, and their question is, why was I required to supply a third-party appraiser's assessment within 90 days, and the county has yet to complete its assessment?
Well, Raphael, by state law, you are required, by state law, you are allowed to be able to get a third party or your own appraisal. And within those 90 days, if you get that appraisal completed, then the county should pay for that. By state law, we are obligated to pay for anything that is for a value of land that is going to be acquired, and anything over that $5,000 threshold you are able or eligible to be able to get that appraisal done and submit it back into the county. The county does have theirs, and we do have ours now. We're just, we do need a little time. As you might imagine, we're a little behind with all of the appraisals, so we should be reaching out to you and giving you our value in very shortly.
All right. The next question we received is from Keegan. The question is, your public meetings have only been in this form of venue, even though we have requested at every single one to have meetings in person. Where is communication getting lost that we cannot follow through with this request?
I'm going to maybe punt this over to Renee Valdez. I don't have an answer for that.
All right, Renee, if you could unmute yourself.
Yeah. So basically, that's one of the reasons, as Ian mentioned at the very beginning, we're trying to continue to improve. That's one of the reasons for the survey that was mentioned a bit ago. Our always effort is good. We're always trying to reach out to as many people as we can in a community. In this instance, I'll certainly take the responsibility. There's 250 people out here. When we go to the community center in that area, I'm not sure the 250 people can fit there. But by all means, that's one of the reasons for the survey. We're trying to figure out whether we need to do things in multiple formats. We've had a lot of success, and as you can see, and I really appreciate everyone who was able to join us. We have, I would say 30-some, 40-some people, if not more, from your community, which is actually considered a very good turnout, a great turnout, as a matter of fact. So we really appreciate it. By all means, give us all the feedback. That's the reason for the survey, and we'll see what we can do to improve.
Renee, since I'm the one that asked that question, I'm going to say that was a very political answer and say, instead, I would like to hear you state, let me work on getting something set up in the next month so that way we can have more than 30 or 40 people at this meeting. Because now for 2 full summers, we've been having these online meetings. And for 2 full summers, we have been requesting otherwise. So I don't want a political answer. I want to see somebody say, let me get one on the books. It's going to happen, and it's going to happen within this amount of time frame. I'm sorry. I'm tired of the political answers at this point.
Well, just give us your feedback, and we will certainly reach out if we do decide to take that action. I can't tell you right now, but your feedback is very well received. We will see what we can do to hold another public meeting in person. I can't commit to it right now until I take a look at what everybody's feedback is. I certainly hear you, and I also hear the other person who mentioned that same thing. We also get feedback from other members who like the virtual type of meeting. So we're trying to make sure we accommodate as many people as possible.
That's bullshit.
But you have yet to actually accommodate those people who I have met with on my street, who have multiple times said they are not able to meet this way. And in fact, met with several people in the yard across the street, not this past summer, but the summer before, stating the exact same thing. So again, you're just reaching the same 40 to 60 people that can make it in this venue. You have yet to reach out to those people who have constantly stated, please have an in-person meeting. So I have yet to actually see where you have actually done anything but the easiest way, which is sitting in your homes and offices and doing meetings in this venue. Sorry. You have yet to actually break out and do it in any other manner. And I've yet to see a notice or a tag, anything stating otherwise.
Okay, thank you. Can we move to the next question, please?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Renee, real quick. So I'm Alexa Morita. I'm the communications person on this project. So thank you, Keegan. What I can do on my end is we'll speak to this afterwards and have a debriefing with the project team. But I do have some recommendations and can advise on this. So we will follow up. And if you want, you can drop your email address into the chat and I'll contact you directly on what those next steps are. But just in general, any type of update, please, please, please check the project website because that's where we can make sure that we have the most up-to-date information. All right, so I'm gonna hop over to the next question from Glenn.
I don't know how to do this.
What are there areas that are grayed out, such as 5370 Grove? What does this mean? Let me go to the actual slide, and then CJ, if you will, or Ian, sorry.
No, that's all right.
She's speaking about the gray area of these maps.
If you go
You
to
might be referring to the postcard from the dart
Okay.
hanger that you guys put out.
Yeah, if you go to the first slide, you can see all the parcels being impacted. But it should have your if you're impacted, you're going to be lit up on this map here. We grayed out the phases just to show what was included in each phase. And I'm not sure where 5370 Grove is without looking at a address map.
It's between Grove and Federal, which is 2 lots up from the north on Grove Street. See, it's a long linear property there. It's grayed out. And then the other properties are all blue or purple, the purple.
So Glenn, is your property on the east side?
Correct.
Okay. So why yours is grayed out in this instance is that there is no property interest needed for this project.
I don't quite understand. There's no curb and gutter there. And the other 2 properties that we own is purple other
Right.
than 5370.
So there might, in this case, our grading or construction may not affect this parcel in gray. Therefore, we don't need to get easement, temporary easement from you like we do on maybe on the other 2 parcels.
Ian, everything you're saying is feeding back.
Andrew, are you catching this?
Earl, okay. I think you partly answered my questions.
Ian,
Yes.
the question I have is, when is that 90 days up? We have 90 days for the appraiser, but my appraiser is still working really hard. As you know, I'm a bigger impact here. When is that 90 days up?
So that there should be a date in the notice of intent letter that was sent to you. It's usually 90 days from that letter that was sent out. So take a look at those letters when you get them.
But not everybody received the letter at the same time.
Right. And I agree with you on that. Not everybody did. So those letters, again, back to the landowners. Whomever received it needs to read the date that was sent on the letterhead.
And you realize with the impact that I'm taking, it could take longer than 90 days. And what if that does happen?
We'll negotiate.
Okay.
Yeah, it is definitely it's in the county's interest as well as everybody else, because everybody pays
Okay.
taxes, and that we want to be able to negotiate with you voluntarily.
And when the second question I have is on 53rd Street. You guys are taking the property to widen the street. Is that considered what is that considered? How are we being paid for that part? I haven't asked you that yet.
Sure. So once we determine the amount of area that we need to acquire to be able to widen the road out just a little bit or add our street improvements to either the north or the south, that area then is, we come up with as CJ mentioned, we come up with a fair market value for that land per square foot and any of the physical features that might be removed in that area within that parcel that is being acquired. And then go ahead.
It's not considered a temporary easement, is it?
Well, and then there's temporary easement areas too on top of that. For example, let's just say, and I'm just going to use a rough number. Let's say that the parcel needed for the right of way is three feet wide. and we need to get a temporary construction easement to do an addition, a temporary construction easement for 5 feet to be able to do grading into your property and then restore back the road surface all the way back to the sidewalk that's being installed. That's also being paid as well.
As temporary easement, and we're being paid until the project is done?
You will get a one-time payment for both. You'll get obviously for the property acquisition. We will go to a title company and close on that.
Yeah.
And then for the temporary construction easement, you will get a separate check for the 2 years that we're renting the property from you.
Yeah. And that does pertain to 53rd. We're not talking about the property that you're taking of mine, but we're talking about for all of us that live on 53rd, you are paying for that as well, right?
Anybody? Yes, yes. Everybody that's in the colors that you see here,
Yes.
there would be some sort of acquisition, whether it be a temporary construction easement or
Yeah.
portion of right of way.
And basically, we will all be receiving the same amount if that's the case, because you'll basically be taking the same amount of property from everyone on 53rd. Right.
In a roundabout, well, it definitely depends upon size and size of lots and but yes, the area that we may need for temporary construction easement can change too. Let's just say we don't need to go, somebody's lot is a little bit more level than the others,
Right,
or there's
right.
some other physical feature that we have to design and make our improvements to around that. That does affect and come into play.
Yeah, because they've got 53rd built up so high, the street itself, that a lot of us here on the north side of 53rd, we go downhill into our property. So, but that's here nor there right now. That's my question. Thank you.
Thank you, Shannon.
All
All
right, so
right,
the
Alexa.
next question is from Paige. What does the county plan to do with Lowell Boulevard? It's a safety hazard, no pedestrian crossings, missing sidewalks, etc. Why was this left out?
Okay, I'm going to hand that one over to our CIP manager, Renee Valdez.
Yeah, so this project that we're doing right now, it's called a neighborhood improvement project. So that means that we're working on local roads. Lowell Boulevard is designated as a collector and arterial. And as you know, just north of the Clear Creek, we have done improvements from Lowell Boulevard. And I believe about 12 or 13 years, there was a new bridge that got created over Clear Creek. At this point in time, the rest of Lowell Boulevard, we are looking and trying to put that into our 5-year CIP plan. But I want to be completely honest with you, it is not currently in our 5-year CIP plan. But it is being looked at. I know we're coordinating with the city and county of Denver as they want to potentially put bike lanes on their portion of the road. And we're trying to see what those impacts are to us. There is discussion about a new pedestrian crossing for the school directly west and north of 53rd and west of Lowell. So we're in those kind of discussions right now to try to figure out if there's a safer way to get pedestrians across Lowell Boulevard.
This is Paige. It's really bad with the traffic. Sometimes there's 30 or 40 cars before you can cross. We need something kind of like how they have on Tennyson where you can stop them and get across quickly and then the cars go, or even at Regis. It's really getting bad. Right now it's construction, but as soon as that's done, it's going to be bad again.
Yeah. So we do recognize, and we are working with that school about trying to do a different pedestrian crossing or something that we feel will be safer. That's in the study, and I believe there's a grant being proposed for that.
Okay, but we need them to stop speeding also because they go down the hill really fast, sometimes 40, 50 miles an hour.
That has nothing to do with what we're talking about tonight, though.
Well, Lowell Boulevard is part of the neighborhood. Excuse me. Thank you.
All right, so the next question is from Marie. So we have we have a few, but I'm gonna go with the first two, Marie, right now, and get a couple more in, and then we'll come back to you as well, because you have some good questions there. So the first one for Marie would be, will there be any consideration for historical preservation? Will there be efforts to preserve mature, healthy trees, and will this impact our property taxes? So historical preservation, healthy trees, and property taxes.
I'm going to defer the historic preservation because I think that it was taken under consideration with the design. So Eric, if you could address that, if not, then Long, if you could maybe help out with that.
Yeah, this is Eric Lee here with JR Engineering. I was the project manager and designer. So regarding historical preservation, we didn't really come across anything structures wise that we were going to impact, such as buildings, except for one exception where we have the garage. I think we had someone speak up about that. So that is something the county is dealing with specifically on if that's historic or not. And I'm not part of that discussion. We did try to avoid structures to the greatest extent possible. So really the only things that would have age that may come down is things like very old retaining walls that probably are not structurally sound at this point. A lot of them are damaged. So I don't believe we had anything else historic that we came across on this project that we were impacting. And regarding the trees, unfortunately, we do impact some of the trees that are large and mature, which is unfortunate. Everybody agrees with that. No, there's no goal or intent here to take down trees, obviously, especially in an older, nice neighborhood like this. So we did try to preserve them to the greatest extent possible, but there are some situations where we couldn't save all the trees. And so there are some large trees coming out due to sidewalks being installed or just changes to the roadway or drainage.
As to the taxes question, we don't have anybody from the assessor's office here, but generally speaking, what you'll have a small amount of, if you have a right-of-way acquisition, that small amount won't matter too much in the way of your taxes and should be relatively the same. But just know this is that we are going into a tax assessment year with the and those values may change as home sales throughout this neighborhood as well as the metro have obviously gone up. And so I'm just going to make everybody aware that this project isn't what's going to be raising your taxes. It's just the neighborhood sales is what is going to be causing that effect.
All right, the next question is from Michelle. How do I know what exactly is planned for my particular property? Where can I find the entire scope of the project?
CJ, can you address that question, please?
Michelle, at this time, just because the project's so large, we can't contact all owners at the same time, but I assure you, we will have a real estate specialist reach out to you. I don't know what phase you're in, but they'll reach out to you in one of those.
I'm in the phase 4 on the north side of 54th.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll take us a while to get over there. It's just hard to reach out to everyone at the same time and handle all those questions and meetings.
Mhm.
If you could be patient with us, we'd appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm just
And
trying to figure out, like, what's there's a lot of general information out there, and I know a lot of homeowners are going through very specifics already. I feel like I'm kind of in the dark. I just want a kind of a heads up, like, what to expect and what the whole scope of the project is in a little bit more detail.
So with that being said, Michelle, if you could just reach out to either Long Nguyen or myself here at the county. You can just call the general office number since we don't have it real quickly to be able to give to you. But you can definitely give us a call. We'd be happy to meet with you or speak with you in person, or we could do a Teams call or the old phone.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be great. I would appreciate that. I just want a little heads up.
Got it.
Contact information is also provided on the project website.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. So the next question is from Anna. I haven't been able to find information on what improvements are being done to 55th Avenue, Phase 4. Do you have more info on that and how much land might need to be acquired? I am in the midst of a landscaping project and this info would be useful. Anna, I know we kind of just answered that question. Do you have what you need, or is there something further that we can provide?
Hi, sorry, took me a while to find the button. I mean, I just haven't found any updates on the website regarding 55th Avenue. It's just all been pending. So I haven't received any information regarding what might happen to my property.
So once again, Anna, if you would just please reach out to either Long or myself here at Public Works. We'd be happy to meet with you, and we can definitely give you the news on what impacts that might be affecting you in the future.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next one is Marie. Will we be responsible for sidewalk clearing for snow? What about elderly neighbors?
Yeah, that is one of the things that is within this subdivision requirements that we have, is that all people who front a public right of way is responsible for clearing your sidewalk that's in front of your house. So, yes.
Okay. And then the next one is Carl. I believe we answered this, but go ahead and unmute yourself if we haven't. But Carl's question is, why does Julian Street have gray shadings between 53rd and 54th?
I'm going to try to answer this, but Long, feel free to jump in if I inaccurately describe it. But Julian Street in that area, again, as I mentioned to, I forgot his name when he was asking about Grove Street. Those areas are not; those parcels aren't affected with the design. Therefore, we are not needing any property interests from you to be able to do our job. Everything's going to fit within our right of way.
All right. The next one is from Marie. With the construction of the sidewalks, it can disrupt sewer lines that reach from the curb to the house. What are your plans regarding those damages and or changes?
Long, I'm going to hand the football to you on that one.
Sure. So we have a conversation with Berkeley Sanitation District, and the hope was they will come in front of us and upgrade sewer lines. I'm sure that when they start the work on there, they will. I think they will require to notify the property owners where they're going to work and when they're going to work, and what they're going to change. And so that way they will coordinate it with the property owners while they're working on the sewer lines.
All right. The next question is from Rachel and John. Is there a reason we cannot both meet in person and remote? I believe we did answer that question, but that is something that we will circle back around once we debrief as a team and how we want to move forward with next steps for that. So we will be in touch, Rachel and John and everyone else who has also asked that question. And one thing I would say, if you have not provided an email address and or you are not actively receiving project updates via email, we did have a distribution list that's been collecting since 2020-21. So if you don't think you're on that list, go ahead and drop it in the chat feature as well, and we'll make sure to add you. That way we can provide an update via email as well. So the next question we have is from, let's see, Glenn. Oh, wait, nope, sorry. We got that one. Joseph, can we check if we were sent a letter? We didn't get one, but are in the green phase. So green phase would be phase 2. If you are on the call, Joseph, feel free to unmute yourself and or type in the chat feature what your address is, and CJ could probably answer to that.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
So I'm at 5310 Julian, so we haven't received anything, but I'm just not sure. We get a ton of mail and kids. I have 2 kids and who knows who checks it. So I just want to make sure I didn't miss something.
I'll look you up and make sure to get another letter out to you. Is there a good contact info to call you at, or has the agent reached out to you or not?
No one's reached out, so
Okay.
that's why I'm just not sure if I got a preliminary letter, and I just want to be sure.
You can either look, my phone number is on the website if you want to reach out to me, or if you're comfortable, you can provide your phone number now and I can reach out to you, whatever works for you.
Okay, you want me to put it in the chat or give it to you? No.
I'm ready if you just want to give it to me.
Okay, it's 720-364-2165.
All right, appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, and then CJ, just a quick note. It's not really a question, but Raphael essentially is giving us the exact same information that Joseph just did. So his address is in the chat feature, so I'll send that over to you. That way you can reach out to them. And let's see the next. Oh,
Alexa, let me just say one more comment to Joseph. Joseph,
okay.
if you are, have you received any other correspondence from the county? Yeah, start there.
No, not that I'm aware of. So
okay, so
that's what I was just wondering, because
let me suggest this. It appears that the assessor's office has an incorrect address for whatever reason. You may need to reach out to the assessor's office and just to be certain that you update them with your address. And then
how could that be? Then they're assessing a different property.
No, not necessarily. That could be a different mailing address.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, I'll get a hold of them because I didn't get anything on this, and so I'm not really sure.
Because that's where we typically pull is the assessor information and to be able to send out all these mailings. Sometimes we get an update once we pull a title commitment, but that's when we get much closer to our acquisition phase. But most of the time is just we receive the same information from the assessor.
Okay, I'll look into all this tomorrow, and then yeah, as I just gave my number, I forget to who on here, but yeah, I guess we'll just be in touch, and I'll be sure to tell them that Ian Cortez said that my easement is worth $100,000. I think we said.
Exactly, Joseph.
All right, thank you, sir.
All right. So the next question, I do want to just acknowledge real quick before we go to the next session. I see your hands raised, Keegan, Raphael, Rob. I will get to you. Let's just get to this next question and then we'll switch over.
Oh, but it has to do with this current question.
Oh, okay. Then go for it.
So here's the thing, I guess, again, Ian, if you go back to our previous meetings, we've stated that the mail outs you all are doing and the cardboard putouts out here aren't working and haven't been getting to all the neighbors and have not been a great form of notification. Again, we have been notifying you guys of this since about the second meeting on this almost over a year ago.
So Keegan, we asked just a little bit ago to be able to go to the QR code that Alexa posted. We do have a little 4-question questionnaire that asks, what is the best way? Help us to be able to help you so that we can be able to fulfill and be able to answer the questions and and do the communication that you're asking for. Again, I beg you, I implore you, or even write it in the chat. How can we help everybody here in this call or those your neighbors that have that same issue?
But this isn't the first time we filled out something along those lines, giving you all of this information. So I'm just curious, at what points
Well,
are our voices.
if you're still interested in helping out your fellow neighbor, I highly suggest that you then do what I ask and fill out the questionnaire or provide it to us in the chat.
So when are you guys going to do what we're asking?
We'll do what we can as soon as we possibly can.
It's been since the summer of 2021.
Okay,
So
we understood that. I think we've
hear
heard
my
you three.
frustration.
I understand what you're saying, and we're getting.
Not met the needs that we have been asking for.
Okay. We will do what we can, Keegan, and we're doing the best we can. Appreciate your input. We need to move on in the best interest of everybody's time.
All right, so the next question is from Glenn. What is the plan for traffic control with all the new building going on in and around Grove and 53rd?
Long, could you answer that question?
I'll try. I guess that's the developers building these new buildings. When they submit permit to do the construction, they will require, the county will require them to submit the traffic control plans. At this point, I don't know clearly what we require them to do. I can go back and ask the permit center, traffic control.
Yeah, the main concern is getting in and out of our driveways with all this new construction going to be going on. And also with just the fact that people are racing through our neighborhood on a consistent battle, it's, we got to stress that there's a lot of blind spots and a lot of that stuff. So what is the ultimate plan with that? I think you guys should also have some sort of plan in place at this point, because you're also improving the area.
And that's correct. So in the past, we heard this comment several times during the design phase, and we as a project team has been contacted the sheriff's office and request more patrol out there. You live out there, probably you see it, but every time I go out, and I went out and visited the sites, and a few times I saw sheriff's office, they drove their vehicle up and down. But that's just me when I came out to the project site. You live out there every day, so you see it every day, and whether they show up or not. But if you still have that issue, please let us know, and we'll continue to contact sheriff's office, and then hopefully they'll send more people out there.
I'd like to chime in on that with what Glenn just said, because it's a fact now that those big fancy condos are built at the east side of 53rd. I am seeing all kinds of different vehicles than all of us in this neighborhood are used to seeing. They are speeding up and down, and they're all going down to that new condo area. Speed bumps, maybe. While you guys are tearing up the neighborhood, maybe speed bumps or something like that, because like Glenn said, it's constant and it's new and we're not accustomed to it and we don't like it. It's not safe.
Hey, Shannon, this is Stuart
Agreed.
Vanderhurst. I live on the corner of 53rd and Grove.
Yeah.
And you're absolutely right. It's Teslas and Range Rovers.
Yes, they're all
doing
fancy
about
new
35,
cars from-
40 miles an hour, guys.
That's right. All these
And there's a
fancy
stop
new
sign. There's a
cars.
four-way stop at 53rd and Grove that they don't stop at.
No, they
For
don't.
whatever reason, they don't recognize the red and the octagon as a reason to stop.
Right.
And they blow that sign. I'm waiting for a kid to get mowed down.
That's right. That's right. And if this whole project is safety, we keep hearing safety over here, but there's nothing safe about what's happening right now. And it doesn't really pertain to what's happening in this construction. But if we're talking about the neighborhood, it's blowing up and there is no handle on it. So it needs to be known.
Shannon, I was told that stop sign on 54th and Grove would take 4 years to put in, that they couldn't put one in right now.
I don't know, that should happen over a couple hours. I don't know what the deal is, but the changes in this neighborhood are being recognized and it's not safe.
So, and I appreciate all the comments, and I heard you, Keegan's and Shannon's and Mr. V, Vanderhurst. You gave us all these comments during the design phase, And like I said, we did talk to our director, our traffic engineer did go back and revisit that intersections 54th Grove. And right now the plans, we will have four-way stop sign. So but like right now, so that we, like Ian said, we try the best we can to move forward as quickly as we can so we can do that.
Long, you're not in the trenches, buddy. You are not where we are. And we see this happening on the daily, and it's getting worse. So we are telling you at this meeting, at this moment, no surveys needed, guys. It's happening now, and nothing is being done. So please continue with this 4-year plan. What?
Well, at this point, it's sooner than that, all right? So I was saying that we love to start the construction in spring of 2024.
Long, you were out here in my yard, not summer 2021, and you flat out admitted. And so was Eric Lee. He was with you as well. And you were both here. And the whole purpose was to see how this impacts our front yards, driveways, and the extreme traffic. It doesn't take over a year for you guys to put a stop sign in there, whether you've started construction or not.
Well,
you guys want to get buy-in from all of these neighbors, but yet we make simple requests that you guys could do pretty darn quickly. It's been over a year. And again, there's zero follow through.
Again, we have to look at, the traffic engineering recommendation. There's a legal issue it comes with that, right? So if we put in four-way stop sign, if somebody get rear-ended, they say, why your study didn't show that we need to have four-way stop sign? Why you put it in here? So we want to make sure that we carefully evaluate it and have traffic engineers look at it. I agree with you. I mean, out there, that's why at this point, we're going to put four-way stop sign, I believe, on that intersection. And please work with Ian to go through this acquisition process as quickly as possible. Then we'll get this construction project moving forward quickly as we can.
All right, I'm gonna go to the next question. Rob, you've had your hand up quite a while, so if you want to unmute yourself and let us know what your question is.
Yeah, hey, I was curious, I guess two parts. First, was the survey about do we want a tree part of this? And have I missed the boat with that?
Do we want a tree? Is that what you asked, Rob?
Yeah, there was a survey that was like, hey, we're doing this big project. We're collecting requests for trees to be put in as
No.
beautification. That wasn't part of this?
No, that is not. This is the questionnaire that we sent out is exactly as I mentioned to Keegan. How can we improve our communication with the neighborhood and yourselves as we move down this project and for future projects?
So
not the one during this meeting a while ago.
So the one that you received there, that is called the Tree Amenity Program, and that's still valid. If you are interested in acquiring a tree, we can provide you a tree. You just need to sign the form, pick a species, and then we can design that and put that in the plan set.
Excellent. And then with that, it had to be notarized, and then my wife and I had to be there at the same time notarizing it. And with a 4-month-old, that's a little difficult for us right now. Is there a different way we could get that done?
Well, I'll say this, that CJ's right-of-way agents that are coming out to the properties, some of them are notaries and they can execute it. If worst comes to worst, I do have a couple of staff members that I can come out and we can execute it then and bring it back to the office.
Great, thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right, the next question is from Caitlin. The question is, will existing landscaping be incorporated into the appraisal?
CJ, you want to tackle that one?
Yeah. Yeah, anything that's impacted by the acquisition of right-of-way or permanent easement, or if it's damaged in the temporary easement, all those will be considered and compensated for in the appraisal process.
All right. The next question is from Glenn. Let's see. Well, if you take down a fence, will you guys be putting back up a new fence?
Glenn, what we have decided to do with this project is to give you the value of a new fence to be erected, as well as the permitting costs. So we will not, because one, we need to be able to have that space to be able to erect, to do our road improvements and any of the grading, and then you can apply to get that fence put up after the construction is done and at the end of the temporary construction lease.
Hey,
I
Ian,
guess
real
my
quick.
question,
Sorry,
my
Ian, real
question,
quick, there's back speed on your end. So if you have two computers open, maybe close one.
Will do.
Okay.
I guess my question is, with the way costs are rising every year and every month, what happens if this thing takes 3 years? You guys establish a price to put this fence back up and it ends up becoming a third more. Do you guys still compensate for that? And then also I have another follow-up question. We have also a lot of wells in our community that some of us use for irrigation and also drinking water. I know some places on 53rd especially, including a couple of my dad's properties, which we have. Are those going to be impacted with all of this construction and or the water table moved or changed?
Let's address the wells issue with well, hey, who am I? Glenn, will you mind putting yourself on mute? Can we address the well issue with Eric, as well as maybe follow up with Long?
Yeah, this is Eric. There's no plans to impact any sort of wells. The drainage that's out there would be the only thing that would be changing somewhat, and we're not actually changing drainage patterns. We're keeping existing drainage patterns. We're just basically keeping water off of properties, and we're getting it funneled through curb and gutter and inlets down to a pond north of 55th Place. So you shouldn't really see changes to water table nor impacts to wells.
And then the other question was,
so back to the irrigation or the drainage. We've had no curb and gutter in front of these properties for the last 30 years since we lived there. We've seen gully gushers that have been 3 feet high, 2 feet high, a foot consistently. Where is that water going and who's it going to impact downstream? Is that going to impact the intersection of 54th and Grove?
No. So all of the water will be, like I said, entered into a curb and gutter, which will then be funneled into an inlet, which will then enter the storm sewer system that we're designing. All that storm sewer will be outfalled down at a new pond near 55th Place in the county open space. And once that pond collects enough detention for a storm event, then it will filter down into Clear Creek and funnel out through the creek.
Piggyback on Glenn's question about the fences. If we have a fence keeping our dog in, but it needs to be taken down as a temporary easement or whatever, will you guys put up a temporary fence in the meanwhile to help us with that?
I'm going to give that one to Long and Renee.
So, if I'm hearing you correctly, so you have dogs and its fence need to be there, right, to keep the dogs in?
That's right.
Okay, and you're asking whether we're going to put up temporary fence to keep the dogs in?
If my fence needs to be taken down to help the project.
Okay. I like to refer that to Renee.
I would say, of course they will. Are you kidding? Come on. Yes, you will.
Awesome. Cool. Just checking.
So the answer would be yes. If you have something we will make sure we do whatever we need to do to make sure we keep, whether you have a dog or something else that you need to protect. In the interim, we would be temporary fencing. So we're not going to go and spend money on new fencing, but yes, we would have some type of temporary fencing that we've used on other type of projects similar to this. You just need to make us aware of those needs.
And if you could make us aware during our negotiations so that we can inform the engineering team and as well as our right-of-way staff and what needs to happen for that particular lot.
If I could chime in, I would just say, if you have an existing fence, it will be replaced with a temporary fence as it exists. Correct me if I'm wrong. That's it.
That's what I heard from Renee. Renee, did I overspeak?
So if there's a need for that fence, the answer is yes. Other than that, the right-of-way negotiations for your fences out there, that's part of right-of-way negotiation. Not everyone has a need to keep a pet inside or within the fence.
All right. So the next question is from Nancy, and then Ashi, I see your hand is raised, so we'll get to you right after this question. So my water meter is in the impacted area. Who is responsible for moving it?
Long, will you address that question, please?
Yeah, so as far as water meters, in the service line, I believe the county gonna relocate that.
And then Ashi, if you want to go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question. And my apologies if I am pronouncing your name incorrectly. If not, I will move on to the next question. So this question is from Rachel and John. When the acquisition is finalized, will the county replace the owner's fence, or is that something the owner will have replaced at their own expense?
Yeah, as we mentioned before, that is something that we are paying to have done. And so that value of that fence is going to be part of the reimbursable that we pay out to you. And then at the completion of the project, you can install your fence at that point.
Next question is from Marie. We also have not received a letter regarding what will happen to our properties at 5345 Grove and 5367 Grove. Marie, this one has also been answered a few times, so I'm hoping you have the contact information for that. If not, please visit the project website and get in contact with us, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible.
Hey, Alexa, this is Mr.
Yes.
D. Could you maybe answer a question that I typed that a lot of people have actually commented on that you just kind of skipped over? And that's why aren't we doing electric underground? It's 2022, last time I checked, and you guys are ripping up the roads, something fierce. So wouldn't it be the perfect time to put the electric underground? So we don't, I mean, we kind of live in Colorado where there's snow and things that happen to the power lines that are up. I know Thornton and Northglenn, they've been having underground electric for quite some time. So what's going on there?
My apologies, Stuart. I did not mean to breeze by you. I didn't see it as a question. I saw it more as a comment.
Oh, I did put a question mark at the end there. Go ahead and take a look there, Alexa.
Okay. Yeah, so Ian.
Yeah, so Renee, you want to address that one, please?
So currently what we do when we talk about undergrounding, and Adams County has a similar type of program, any new development is required to put all of the electrical underground. However, currently right now, we only underground any projects that are arterial roads and collector roads. Anything that is considered a local road, we do not currently underground that. That is our current process that we have right now, our procedures that we have.
Hey, Renee, are you in charge of process and procedures? Because maybe you can just make a change and bring us up to speed here. We're kind of behind.
So no, I am not in charge of processes and procedures, and from that perspective, it is a budgetary issue, kind of component of it. So I can tell you, we recently done a 1 mile section, and this is longer than a 1 mile section. It's about a $4 million or $5 million investment. It is in this area. I would say it would be substantially higher. So I can tell you that that would certainly increase our budget substantially, that we would certainly have to go approval and or request it.
You know,
From that
maybe
perspective.
you could take a look at the condos that they're building up at the end of my street on 53rd, because they were supposed to build 12, but they've got 14 going in. So there's probably like a couple, 4 or 5 million that they're getting right there. You could probably take a look at. I mean, literally, it was on the books for 12, and now there's 14 being built. So there's millions of dollars up the road being unaccounted for.
Thank you for that information.
So, real quick, just to kind of tag on to this discussion, is the next question is from Ashi, and it's how is Adams County paying for all of this?
So the funds are generated from what is the revenue that is collected from your taxes, and this is all paid by, it's basically tax funds that that the assessors have acquired through the years. We have a general fund, but Renee, go ahead. You can probably speak a little bit better to that.
It comes from the Road and Bridge Fund.
Okay.
Adams County Road and Bridge Fund.
Very good.
All right.
Okay, so
then,
in theory, it should be all from saved taxes. Sorry, this is Ashi here. I tried to get off mute earlier, but had some technical difficulties.
Okay.
So if this is all from stored taxes, that means property taxes and any sort of taxes that we're seeing should not increase, correct?
I was going to say yes, but your taxes, as I mentioned just a little bit ago, because this is an assessment year, your property taxes are going to go up because the home sales in this neighborhood has definitely gone up. And therefore you're going to get a new value.
Gone up for what? What new development have we had? Nothing.
No, I'm by all of the recent sales of the properties within this neighborhood and around you, and both sides within the city and county of Denver, properties on the east side of Federal and the west side of Federal, that all gets assessed, and that's how your home value or your taxes, as well as your home values, rise.
all right. So the next question is from Sandra. What is the county Excel doing with the power lines?
Yeah, mostly just because it goes through like the I guess our house. It goes from like the tip of our house to across the street, and that power line sits on a sidewalk that will eventually get expanded or whatnot. So yeah, I guess you might have already answered this previously, but I'm just wondering like if that's gonna change or if we're moving to a different or if the arrangement.
Renee, you want to address that question?
Yeah, so we are working with Excel. We've let them notified and stuff. One of the feedback comments that we'd received from this community was that you wanted the least amount of impact on your properties, and that's why we went to a narrower roadway section so that we wouldn't have to take as much property. Our typical width is 50 foot. We made a decision to listen to the community, and we put in a 40-foot section. That will impact what Excel is going to be doing. And what I mean by that is they will probably be reaching out to some of you in regards that they might need an easement to relocate their pole so we can put in our infrastructure and get their pole out of our way. That is every decision has an impact, and that was one of the impacts from this perspective. So if you have a pole directly in your property, they might be reaching out to you and having a separate right-of-way agent that they will be discussing that and getting their own easement to relocate their poles. That would be a direct impact that could happen.
Okay, so just real quick, so we are at 7:21 p.m. So let's take a few more questions and keep those lines open. But one thing I would say before we end and people are hopping off the call is we do have a good amount of questions that we can build a FAQ to post online to help kind of respond to those mass questions. And don't forget to also just reach out to the project contacts on the project website for additional questions. And then on the back end, the questions that are not answered tonight, I'll pull those for the project team and we'll go through them together, and someone will be in touch. So the next question is from Mike.
Alexa, this is Long. Alexa.
Oh, yes.
So before you go on to the next question, I need to clarify the stop signs again on 54th and Grove. I know this is not going to be popular. I just looked at the plan again, and I just want to correct myself. 53rd and Grove, we have 4-way stop sign, and 54th and Grove right now only 2 stop sign on the north-south movement. It does. So I guess at this point we don't have 4-way stop sign in the plans. But I will go back to the traffic engineer and help him or her evaluate this intersections again. And if we have to put it in, we'll put it in. And I heard all of the comments about the 4-way stop sign. That's the only way to slow people down.
Speed bumps.
Yep. So I definitely will help the traffic engineer to reevaluate this again. So I would like to correct myself that right now there's only 2 stop signs on 54th Grove.
Thank you, Long. So the next question is from Mike. Since the county will take ownership of the land for the sidewalks, why isn't the county responsible for cleaning the sidewalks during snow? Will the residents be sued if someone falls and gets hurt?
So as I mentioned before, it is in the subdivision regulations. Let's just say you had a sidewalk out there today. You were responsible for clearing the sidewalk. Most municipalities as well as counties have the same standard, is that anybody who any property that fronts a sidewalk or a street with a sidewalk is responsible for clearing. So it's when we add sidewalks for this project, yes, you still will be responsible for it, even though it is a brand new project. And will you get sued? No, but there is within those subdivision regulations that you could be fined by our code compliance officers for not clearing it off.
Okay, so when the county shows up and plows the roads, if they ever do, and it plows snow onto your sidewalks, you're responsible for clearing that as well. Because I'm about to have like 211 foot of sidewalk put in, and that's a lot for one person to shovel.
To answer your question directly without beating around the bush, yes.
All right, so I do want to address the raised hand. There's no name associated, but RJP 1953.
Hi, I'm Russell.
Okay.
So Adams County will pay to replace the water meter and the line clear to my house?
That is correct. At this point, Berkeley, they said they will replace only the main line. I need to clarify with them. They did say that the service line from the main line to your house, if it's ironed, if it's cast iron, they will responsible to replace them. If it's copper, then we have to replace it our own at the county cost.
Right.
In a way, they did upgrade it to copper, and now we taking those lines out, so we responsible to put back. But as far as cast iron, then they're responsible to replace them. That's the agreement, verbal agreement with them, and I need something in writing with them.
Yeah. Also, during construction, with all the big vehicles and trucks and stuff, and all the shaking going on, my house is old. What happens if the foundation gets damaged from all that?
So at this point, I would highly suggest, I think I mentioned it to Mr. Crater in the past, so I would mention it to you also. The best approach is to go ahead and take photo of your foundation, of your anything inside lower level, or videotape it and keep it as a record. During construction, if there's cracks, some movements, then you have records of it and you can present it to the contractor and the county. And if that's the case, then I'm sure the contractor will address them.
Okay, thank you.
All right, just a couple more minutes. Do we want to take one more question?
Yes.
Okay. I do want to acknowledge, Anna, I see your comment about the Berkeley sanitation. So we'll look at that on the back end. So thank you for providing that. The next question comes from, let's see. Oh, actually, you know what? Joshua Mitchell, you had your hand up. Do you want to unmute yourself? If not, no worries. Or let me unmute you just in case you can't find it. Are you there? No.
So Alexa, if I may, just wanted to say a couple of different things.
Okay.
So the first, I just wanted to be clear, and I know, Alexa, I think you've done a better job of explaining this. We will be having a debrief session after this meeting. We will certainly look at that possibility. I know the community is asking, or at least some people are asking for an in-person meeting. We're not, I want to be clear that we're not opposed to that from that perspective. We're just going to go take back. We just have to, in all honesty, look at the logistics of what our contract says from that perspective with our team that we have here. And once we get through that process, we will certainly get back with all of you. We absolutely, if that's the best way to reach out and get more input, that's exactly what we want, is more input. So we will certainly be looking at that. Just wanted to clarify that up. Also wanted to make a general statement. We are not the assessor's office, so we can't tell you that your taxes will or will not. We can certainly just want to make that general statement that because of this project will not impact your taxes. From that perspective, we are not going to be assessing anyone any additional taxes because we're doing this project. This is already in our fund. From that perspective, the money's to cover these costs as it's been presented right now. So I just wanted to clarify that up. So we don't know what the impact, the tax assessors will be addressing that, or they'll do that. That's a whole separate elected office that we don't, we couldn't tell you what will or will not happen. That's in the future. I just wanted to address that.
That's not a sensitivity you guys look at, is the work you're doing and how that'll increase property taxes. I mean, I feel like that's in the scope of your realm.
So what we don't know what the impact will be. We do believe that making improvements like this does increase the value of at least the frontage of how that looks. Could that happen? I can say it probably could. I think we've seen it on the west side of Lowell, but we can't tell you what another elected office will or will not do. But I can certainly tell you that we are not going to be increasing any mill levies or increasing taxes specifically to pay for these improvements directly in front of you.
Well, we are at the top of, I guess not top of the hour, but 7:30 p.m. Ian, do you have any last comments? The only thing I do want to just follow up on from tonight's meeting is.
So Alexa, if I may make one more comment, so I know a little bit ago trees were mentioned. We have what we call a tree amenity program, and those are the letters that were sent out. It's not a survey. We do that in this community. Also, just wanted to clarify that's a process that we want. The whole intent of that is to increase the tree canopy. Just so you know, if we do take out a tree, regardless, depending on the size and stuff like that, you will be reimbursed appropriately for the size of that tree. In addition to that, we have what we call the tree amenity program, and that is an opportunity to get a smaller size tree to be able to plant in your frontage in your yard. So feel free to take advantage of that program, and feel free to reach out and let us know if you are certainly interested. We are interested in trying to put in more trees back into the community, but wanted to just clarify that if I could.
Thanks, Renee. On behalf of the team from Adams County, as well as HDR, JR Engineering, I want to thank everybody who participated tonight. There's such a wonderful turnout to be able to hear, and I'm so happy that you love your neighborhood. We realize and recognize this is going to be a significant inconvenience, and we're doing the best we can to be able to make it as smooth transition as best as possible. And we want to do everything that we possibly could do in doing so. Again, as Alexa mentioned, please feel free to send any more questions, any more concerns, so that we can be able to address it as best as we can. And then again, if you have not heard from CJ's team in phase 2, you will be shortly. And if you those in phases 3 and 4, feel free to reach out if you have some specific questions, as we mentioned earlier. I want to thank everybody tonight, and I wish you good luck or a good night, and we'll be talking soon. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you all.